Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our Team Builder series here with South Texas Big River University as we just finished up our first season as the head coach with Mr. Justin Incredible. If you remember him from our old Florida State series back on College Football Revamped, he was our quarterback there. He's now the coach of South Texas Big River. And we do have 10 points to use right now in the coaching skill. Looking at the coaches we do have, I'm not going to fire them just yet for the simple fact that okay, well, I lied. I did fire a defensive coordinator before, but that was last episode. Okay, things happen. Our offensive coordinator I am keeping. We did have a pretty decent offense. Our defense was just atrocious, so we have put an offer in to Kanoy, hoping that he will accept. So we will have to check into that to see how well we pull off that opportunity for him. And that's mainly just because we do need a shakeup in the defensive coordinator realm. Now, a part of me just wanted to look at job offers. And no, we're not taking any other job. This is all about building up this school. I just wanted to see how they kind of do it compared to my other series, right? So didn't do anything. We're staying here at South Texas Big River, and Mr. Teddy Kanoy does sign with us, so we do bring him in. He is a C Prestige tactician defensive coordinator. And the good thing is, if you look at where all this tactician stuff lies, obviously it is going to be on the defensive side. He is a scheme guru. So that should help us out, especially when we're talking about the passing game for our defensive backs as far as coverage goes, with our linemen still maintaining, and being able to increase their play recognition and so forth. That's generally what you wanted to see, and he's a pretty good building block for us. It'll help us out a lot. Now we check out the college football playoff, how that worked out. Ohio State does become your champions. They took out the Longhorns in the semifinals 29-26. But then they took out the Georgia Bulldogs in a big-time defeat by 21 points, knocking them off their pedestal just a wee bit. So that's how the championship worked out. And now what we really have to do is focus on our team, setting us up for the future, right? This is just going to be season 2, so ideally we just want to have a little bit of improvement from the 5-7. And I think we're starting to get there. We did get Crick as a 3-star recruit, and we've got Lincolnbach, Pianalto, McKeithen, and Fisk. A lot of these 3-star guys that are for one, pretty much better than what we have coming in. And those that are lacking behind as freshmen, they'll definitely easily be able to catch up by the time we get into the actual season and their second and their sophomore, junior year. So now we still only have 525 recruiting hours to use. So all those points that were on these guys have disappeared, so we have to kind of reallocate them. And that's what we need to try to figure out is how we get these things reallocated so these guys stay with us and keep the interest for us. But then we're also going to have to take a look at bringing in some new people. We're going to have to look at the portal, see who we can get there, as well as any other prospects coming in. Now, James Crum, he is a gem of a left guard. So we are going to have to try to keep him happy, keep him coming to our school, because that's someone I think we can really build our offensive line around. And even in doing that, we're looking at some other. Johnny Dixon, he's a kid out of Corpus Christi. He's coming to us from North Texas, which you may have seen him in our old other series that we do have going on, where we are with the Mean Green right now. And Mr. Dixon does tend to get a lot of holding penalties. It is what it is. But he's definitely worth kind of bringing in. He doesn't give up a whole lot of sacks or anything in that realm, so he's someone worth looking at. Now, not only on the interior line, we have to look on the exterior, the outside, the tackle spot. Mainly left tackle. Well, Olsen was a senior this season, so he's obviously gone. And I don't know if we're going to start out with, let's put a freshman quarterback in. Let's see what we can kind of do to get some of these guys brought in here. We're just going to have to kind of see how things do play out. And that's where it's going to be the hardest, is figuring out where are we going to get some of these guys on the line We need older, tenured guys, but we also need to build up some depth, right? So we do go ahead and offer Dixon and send the house to him because, one, I do know what kind of player he is because he just so happens to be in my other series, and it's something that I think we can actually bring in and be a big-time help to this school. Now, we do send the house for those guys. You'll see that takes up 100 of the points outside of just a scholarship offer for the simple fact that, man, I can't focus so much on the guys that we currently are recruiting. We will give them some points, but we've got to get some other weapons in. We just have to. And so looking at wide receivers. Now, we're not going to get a 4-star or 5-star, but Jaden McGowan, 3-star out of Boston College. That's definite potential right there to try to get him if we decide to. We also got Mr. Lee coming in at the 193 ranked spot. So we've got a lot of offensive targets to think about. You know, not just on the offensive line. We got to think about the weapons who are actually going to score. And I do want to check out into the quarterbacks. Let's just see who all we can try to bring on here. Tate Rodemaker. I know it says he's from Southern Miss, but correct me if I'm wrong. That's the same Tate Rodemaker that was at Florida State last year, right? In real life, that is. And he's 3-star. We are 3rd on his board. I just don't think I'm going to worry about bringing him in. Jacob, I'm pronouncing it Newth. I'm giving him the silent K. We are 2nd. He is coming from Kansas State. He is worth getting a look at. And so if we are going to bring in somebody like him, once again, who's he going to throw to? We just don't have the weaponry. We need the weaponry. Now, Matthew Donahue, as soon as we start adding people in, we violate his deal breaker for playing time. As a quarterback, God forbid he have a little competition. The one thing about someone like that is I don't know if I really want him. I mean, let's see what we got for Knuth. 91 throw power. Now, see, that we definitely need. That's going to help us spread the field. And we get 91 throw power. Knuth, we got McGowan. Donahue, you don't want to compete. You're out. Don't need you. Okay? McGowan, we have added him in on our recruiting board as a receiver. I do still want to scout him. Speed is 95. That's insane. That's what we need right now. So catching 79 at 9, I think that could be a little bit better, but I'll take the 95 speed. If we can get this guy open enough, we can get a lot of production out of that and really kind of get him brought in here. Now, not only with McGowan do I send the house, but I contact friends and family. I figure the more up points you can get, the better it will be. However, we are cutting down on our total hours. We've already gone down to 185, and we've really only added on a few players into this realm. So, thinking about that, got to kind of plan our stuff out carefully. Maybe a little bit more carefully than what we are doing. But we're still early on in the recruiting. We've only got 13 targets on our board right now. Like, that's all we've got. And in reality, part of it is just the hours, I know, but also another part is the interest. So I've got to think of it that way. Now, these visits, here's where stuff gets a little crazy. Outside of not having a deal breaker, if you see all our check marks just for this example, the highest rated check mark we have is a C- for championship contender. Everything else is a D+ for him in that realm. So how am I going to sit there and, I guess schedule him for the visit and put that one on there? It's not really much to look at. Playing time and playing style for us are A+. However, that's not what this kid cares about. Leon Stye makes it incredibly difficult to send a damn hard pitch. But we did it. We figured it out, and we did it. Program tradition is one of these guys' check marks. We just started. We're 1 year into it. We don't have a tradition. Mr. Crum, James Crum, Mr. Gym Athlete. But we are labeled as a C- championship contender, which is something he does care about. So we're going to use that. Now, we do like to go, I'd like to go the hard sell, and if I can, if we have the hours available, go hard sell, mix it with something else. If I can, I'll go hard sell plus contact friends and family. He's only got 50 hours available, so I'll have to go hard sell on something else. And we use football influencer for his hard sell. Once again, our ratings are really low in that realm, but he fit, all the check marks fit right there. And in doing that and getting some guys' visit scheduled, we've pretty much gone through our hours. We have 25 hours left. I hate how they call it hours. That just sounds weird to say. And there's just not much we're going to be able to get done in this week. So we need to go ahead and simulate ahead and see if, by the grace of God, anybody comes. And actually, Curtis Gage, who we didn't add any points to, thankfully he does commit. He's our one commit at this point, but we have moved up and we are number one for everybody else. So that is a big time positive to have happen for us to become their number one. And really, it's mainly with the recruiting. Like look at our recruiting hours there in the top right. 205 hours now. We got one guy signed. Okay, so now we got 205 hours left. And these other targets, these are big targets for us, but we're such a new school, we're not going to get someone to automatically come to us. Mr. Gage that finally signed, we basically recruited him for the whole damn season before he finally decided to do it. And these guys, we're trying to do it in a single off season. But the positive note is we are number one, so we can at least get things like their visits scheduled. That's just what we have to try to do, and to try to hit up, whatever their deal breaker is, proximity to home playing time, what have you. I will generally select it as long as we don't have an X next to it. But that's kind of one of the harder parts about being a smaller school and doing this is limited hours. So we have to be very careful about it. Now, Leon Stye, like I said, we only used a hard sell. He had 10 hours left, so we did the whole DM the player. And then I removed that relatively quickly, and add it back. I get myself confused in this stuff. But I had to do it. Now we're down to 115 hours. And like I said, how many people are we really going to be able to get added on with 115 hours? So whenever we do decide to start looking at these additional players to bring in, it's really, we got to go for what we need. Sometimes you may have seen it in my North Texas series, that we'll go after people that don't really fit the need, but maybe highly rated athletes. But here, we've got to fill our needs. Coming in as a cupcake team, basically a half a star. We have improved. We are definitely better than that, but we're not going to get to where we need to be as quickly as we need to if we don't start filling in these needs and getting some decent talent. So find guys that have the deal breaker. That's going to be number one for us. We have to have a deal breaker. And then number two, it's really hit them hard with recruiting, try to give them as many points as we possibly can, and then just cross your fingers and hope to God that you can get them in. Now, I don't want to just bring in only transfer portal guys. We got to look at some of younger dudes as well. However, as far as any 5 stars or 4 stars that could possibly think about coming to us, it's not happening. It's one of those things that South Texas is not the place where everybody wants to be. I've learned to live with that. But like I said, as far as receivers go, McGowan is going to be our top one that we got to aim for. But we also need help in the tight end space. As much as we need help in every damn position, if we can get someone like Stewart to come to us from Nebraska, good Lord, can you imagine what we can pull off? Now, besides, I do offer him the scholarship and look at his scouting. I just had to see it. It's too curious for me. And we are going to add in some points for him, but I also want to see what Chris Stewart looks like. We are number 2 on his preferences. But looking at his ratings, it's kind of shocking for a 3-star. I would expect a little bit better, especially being a junior transfer, but I guess that's why he's not playing all that much. Now, having run block be at a 70, combine that with some of these offensive line guys, we might be able to get some open space in the outer areas. But I think right now well, we're going to still try, but he's not going to be our primary dude. Primary guys, Knuth, or just Knuth and McGowan are going to be the primary. Besaint coming in off the edge if we can have him in there and be a solid player for us, and that's just all that much better. And actually, look at that, McGowan. We are first on his board now. Of course, we didn't have a whole lot of competition because we're the only ones who have offered him a scholarship. Dixon, though, he's getting chased at this moment. He is getting chased by some other schools. We are in big-time competition for him. I don't like that, but we are. Now, Knuth, we're still in the lead for him. We have 65 hours. We completely filled that with the social media, DMing the kid. We slid into his DMs, and we sent the house. I think we've done all we can do for him. McGowan, we are going to go ahead and get a visit scheduled because we need to get him to campus as much as possible. And playing style is his deal breaker. That we actually fall into the A category, one of the few little green areas for us, so we take full advantage for him on that one. Same thing with Besaint. Playing style is a deal breaker for him, which actually works out better for us because they don't really care too much about the school and the crappy school that we are right now, you know. So I can deal with that, which just works to my advantage a little bit, you know. So still, this recruiting segment in the off season, this becomes a big time killer. Trying to figure this one out. Especially as we get later on. So, like Aaron Bryant, he's in the transfer portal, a 3-star guy. How's he not signed yet? He's been at Texas. He's decided he wants to leave, and we're going to go ahead and recruit him, and somehow we're number 1. I don't know. I guess getting our butt whipped by 60 points or 62 points made this guy think, man, that's a school I want to be at. And so he does go into the portal, and we offer him a scholarship. We're the only ones to have done that so far. No other school has offered him anything at this point. And that's actually a big opportunity for us. Let's find the guys who don't have scholarship offers, and that's going to be probably the best way for us to get in on the ground level. You don't have a scholarship offer, you're in the portal, you got us offering to you now, son. And in reality, that is kind of a cheese way to do it, but we're building up from nothing. We need it. And look at that, Mr. James Crum does commit over to South Texas from Fort Lauderdale. And same thing, Johnny Dixon transfers to South Texas from Denton. McGowan comes on over to be our biggest offensive weapon coming up for season number 2. Now, Bryant, you ingrate, he has dropped us down to the 2nd spot, and I don't blame him. TCU's going after him, so you can't really blame the kid, right? Now, Chris Stewart, he doesn't like the fact we have we're in violation of a deal breaker, and I don't understand that playing time thing. Just because I guess he's saying he's not going to be on the starting lineup immediately. I don't know. There's so many different things you can actually do with some of these players as far as changing positions and where they fit and how they come off. We could do that, but we got to get them in our school first. So I'm not sure what that's all about. Now, Alfonso Tyree, another transfer kind of player. We are 6th on his board. He is a junior, though. And if I'm really trying to build something, I need some younger guys. I want transfers just because they have experience for the most part, right? Like, that's why you go for a transfer. Is the kid's got experience. They're not just an incoming freshman. They're not new to the college game. But at the same time, I need to also be building for the future. So DK Magruder, Kelly Jones is an interesting opportunity to transfer as a freshman. Same thing with Quindarius Jones. He's a sophomore transferring, so that's at least a couple years that we could keep some of these guys if we can actually land them. And they are 3-star prospects, so they are going to be probably mid-70s, mid to lower 70s. But give them a couple years of development, and who knows what can happen at that stage. You know what I mean? So we have added Tyree, Jones, and Jones to the list. We got 325 points or hours to use. So I'm not afraid to get these three guys scouted up. Let's look at what they got. Like Alfonso Tyree, defensive tackle. He's got a good strength rating. Play recognition was decent. Tackle ability was good to go. Same thing with pursuit. Now, Kelly Jones, defensive back. What I like seeing here is acceleration is 92. Zone coverage is 81. Man coverage is a little low, but we have to play a lot of zone just because we know we don't have the speed yet. So we have to go with a lot of zone, which Kelly Jones fits into that style of defense for us, as far as being a primarily zone defensive back. Now, Quindarius Jones, it shows him to be a man-to-man, but his speed is only 89. Man coverage is 75. Change of direction, though, is 85. Agility, 87. His press coverage is 76. He's got fairly decent ratings. I don't think I'd call him a man-to-man tendency, but he's got capability that I think with where we play in Conference USA, some of the teams we play against, he's got definite capability to help us out and to do essentially more for our school. So we are already at a point in his top 5. Like, we know we're in his top 5. And we're actually 5th in that top 5. So what we are going to do is put on a hard sell. And in reality, as long as you put on the hard sell in the correct way and you hit your ratings, I don't know if certain things are X's or checks on them, but let's hit our highest points and let's just try to sell them on that. Now, Chris Stewart, it's basically locked us out because of the deal breaker. And I understand, I guess. No, I don't. I really don't. Why would you lock us out just because of that? Like, get over yourself, dude. I get it. You're a transfer. You want your special playing time and all that other jazz. Well, fine. You know what? Go back to your old school. I don't care. I'm not taking you off my damn board, though. I'm going to keep my scholarship offer to you, and we're going to see what you choose to do with it, you fool. Sorry, little rant on that one. But these recruiting weeks and with a smaller school become pretty difficult. And we got to be very poignant with who we go after, right? So here comes the 4th week. We know we're not getting 30 some odd recruits. In reality, I think 16 would be decent. And Lucas Simmons, left tackle. Knuth, the quarterback transfer. Kelly Jones, come on down. We get some decent players coming in. Now, we did actually have a top 75 recruiting class, so that was good to see. And we're just looking at some of the quarterbacks on our roster at this point, trying to see the off-season, I guess, advancement training results. And I hate that you don't ever really see any. It's like some people didn't train over the summer and some other guys have. So, like, Scooter Page dropped all the way down as far as wide receivers go. He was our number 1 damn wide receiver pretty much all last season. But now he just decided to take the summer off, I guess, and he's dropped all the way pretty damn far down. So, it's one of those, it is what it is. Not seeing a whole lot of advancement on our line, but bringing in guys like Doug Barlow. He's an 81 overall on the right guard. Right tackle, 74. That's going to be rough. That is going to be tough to block on that right side. It's one of these, I hope something like that doesn't come back to bite us in the butt. But we're going to have to see what happens with our quarterback competition, because we are going to see who's going to compete for the day 1 starter. And even then, they are going to be on a short list. So there's going to be a short time span for them to, a short leash, I guess you could actually say, is what it really would be. Once we get into the actual, get ready for the season to start, everybody's position is open. There's nobody that's solid in their spot. That's how we're going to have to run this thing going into season number 2. So that's why we look at these training results, and we see some guys come up. Other guys, even with their increase, it's still not all that great. It is what it is, but like having a right outside linebacker that improved to 72 overall, that's going to make defense pretty tough this season. Maybe our problem on defense wasn't so much our defensive coordinator, outside of our players not being able to actually play the damn game. So we will have to see. as we come into our defensive backfield, that's where things become kind of a big-time struggle for us in stopping the passing game. It's going to be something that I think is going to be nearly impossible this next year, but we're going to have to kind of see how that shapes out. Now, something happened with our coach in terms of, he shot up to 120 coach points. I don't know what happened, just the offseason, and I'm going to take full damned advantage and not complain as that much as we add in a whole bunch of the recruiter stuff for him, mainly just because we need guys. This series is about building up this school, and as much as I want to be a tactician and all that, you're not going to do much if you have the greatest game plan, but you don't have players that can actually execute it. So we do start adding in the recruiter, and you see how full we got pretty much right there. And then on our little graph, we are full-blown recruiter all the way through. I do open up tactician just for the simple fact that, hey, these guys do get little boost, and it's kind of trying to figure out where we need the boost the most. So obviously quarterback is going to get one, defensive line is going to get one, and same thing with the defensive backs. We improve both of those, or all those areas, essentially by 2. Just to help out, Now, looking at our season that's upcoming, the custom schedules, this is where things get kind of interesting. I mean, we won't start conference play till week 7, which is just odd the way this stuff shapes out, but it is what it is. And I don't like having... I don't want to play all mid-range teams. The best way to know how well our team is developed is by going and taking on some bigger schools than us. Right? Now, I'm not always talking about, hey, let's go play the Longhorns every year. As much as I would love for them to be a rival of us, I'm not a fool. It wouldn't be a rivalry right now. We're just in-state players. That's it. Same thing with A&M. So we got to be smart about it when it comes to the scheduling. We need our measuring sticks up there, but we also need to be able to have games that we could actually compete in, right? So you're going to see us go through a couple little iterations here with this schedule. It's not something that's, I plan all that easily. And I got to figure... We would primarily be traveling teams, traveling to other schools. Not a whole lot of big schools are going to come to us. So the only schools that are going to come down to South Texas are going to be some of the smaller schools. Like Florida is not coming to South Texas. James Madison, yeah, I could see them coming. I don't want to hear, well, they had a good season last year. Who cares? They are still the kind of school that would travel to us. Okay, just the same way we had traveled to them too. All right, it's open for everybody in that realm with those 2 teams. But it's really trying to figure out who is a middle-of-the-road team that would most likely come to our stadium. Right, and I don't think anybody from the SEC really would. I just don't see that. In all reality, I don't see any Power 5 coming to our school, So we are going to have to travel to them for all those big games. Like I said, I go through a few iterations here of the schedule. So I want to be a rival of Texas, but that does mean at some point Texas would have to come down to South Texas, and that's just not going to happen. It was nice enough when the Longhorns went to UTEP, but after doing that one time, they said no more again. Not happening. Let it go. So they did. It'd be like Longhorns going to San Antonio to play UTSA, which I get is an hour drive from us, from here in Austin. But still, I think everybody kind of understands that concept. So we need to look at teams that give us a fight. But ones that we can, I'm not going to say actually win, but ones that we do have a shot. Like if we were to play Kansas State, we got no shot at that. We really don't. Like I said, Kansas State's not coming down to South Texas. The Raging Cajuns, now they would come to South Texas, so we do put them on. That's a more realistic type of matchup for us in our non-conference schedule. Send the Raging Cajuns of the Sun Belt Conference down to South Texas. And, I think that would be fairly realistic and work out semi-normally. Now for our fourth non-conference game, like I said, I want a bigger conference school. I don't want to just do, Mountain West or American Conference or anything like that. We need to have big-time teams out here. We need to have big-time games out here. But what's another draw for a smaller school, right? Kids that are going to be going here generally have not gone anywhere in their life. So if we're going to be traveling, let's make the travel worth it, And, I mean, in reality, who wants to go to Tuscaloosa? Like, has anybody ever been like, you know what, I'm going to take a weekend trip to Tuscaloosa that's not football related? No one ever has. All right? No one in the history of the world has ever done that. People have said, let's go to Washington. And we're talking about an opportunity to play on the road against a Big Ten school. It's a travel to Washington. That's a pretty big opportunity for a lot of kids. So that is who we choose to go to. Week 1, we put Washington on the schedule. Now, week 4, taking a look at some ACC teams. I don't want one of the top of the line, Clemson, Miami, NC State, Florida State, North Carolina. But Boston College is reasonable. I mean, they're lower in the ACC realm. We're a 79 overall team. Boston College is a lot closer to us in that realm, so we do put them in to finish off our non-conference schedule. So it's going to be Washington, Central Michigan, the Raging Cajuns, and then Boston College to get our season started off with for season number 2. Now here we come into our regular recruiting. So you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, positive, we now have 450 hours of recruiting instead of 300 something that we had last season. So we've got that going. And I'll be damned if there's not a defensive tackle that is a 5-star that is, I'm not going to say capable, but hasn't completely rejected us altogether. That's not even saying, look, don't even try. So we do put a couple of 5-stars on there. An athlete who is running back, Freddie Frazier. And then Klutz, we add him in as well. I don't even know why I'm doing the scouting. I shouldn't have wasted these points or hours on that because we know this is a 5-star. In reality, who cares if they're a gym or not? They're better than what we got, so we should have just stuck with them in that realm. Been grateful for what we had. But we still do the scouting anyways just to see, and they turn out to be the 5-star recruits that we thought they were when we saw they were rated as 5 stars. So now it's one of those, let's take a look at what we need here. You know what I'm saying? That's another focus. Always having to hit up what you need. And I want to try to keep it to 3 stars. In all reality, we'd have 3 stars. Now, maybe someone that grows up right next to our school that's a 4 or 5-star would come in immediately, but let's face it, we don't have that. Who are we kidding? So, I do want to look at, even though some positions don't say need, like I said, we can always change people's positions, and sometimes it works out really well. We've seen that happen in the other series. So, I want us to be careful and be smart about our recruiting. Can't go over the top, can't add in 20 different recruits at a single time, right? Right now we got, 6 guys on our board. We are going to go ahead and scout each and every one of them, and then we are generally going to offer a scholarship because who are we to turn someone away? Not us, not here in South Texas. That's not how we roll. So now we're down to 355 hours after doing the recruiting on Frazier, Klutz, and Toure. And that leaves us with Sanborn, Stevens, and Hatch left. It is still generally going to be about, 30 points per recruiting session. But if we can be the only people to offer scholarships for these guys, it at least sends us to the top of their interest for the time being. Stevens is going to be a gem of an athlete. They're a quarterback, field general. So while we are the only ones to offer a scholarship now, I have a feeling once we upgrade or once we move beyond to get ready for the actual start of the season, we're probably not going to be at the top of his board, at the top of his interest. but still, it's worth a shot. Even shots in the dark, we have to take them. Looking at our team needs, it actually did improve from last season. I think we had every position on the offensive line with the exception of maybe center or something that was needed. Well, now we don't need a left guard. We've got that taken care of. But we do need a left tackle. That's one of the most important positions we could ever have. And so taking a look at the top-rated left tackles, for the most part, I mean, we're number 5 on his board for Mr. Harvin. He is the top-rated left tackle, ranked at 780. We do put Moss on, who is for the right tackle position. Now, they say we do need one. These guys, I think, can be a little bit more interchangeable as far as going from left tackle to right tackle. So if we can get at least one of these guys, it'll be worth it. Now looking at Tyler Harvin's recruiting, pass block finesse 73, pass blocking 79. That's got definite potential to really help us make things happen. Starting in year 3, he does have potential to be an automatic starter as a freshman, which is dangerous for an offensive lineman, but when you need it, you need it. You know what I mean? So now, looking at just our need positions. Normally I do the rating by the stars. I go ahead and sort that just because obviously I'm going to want the higher rated players within reason. So I do go through and add in primarily looking at 3-star guys that fit our need. That's going to be the biggest thing is if we don't really need them, I can't spend time to recruit them to really build up on depth. We have to get the guys that we need now. And so that's kind of why we do this time. I sorted it by essentially need. And we're going through and adding some guys to our recruiting board as much as possible. Still, at this point, we only have 210 hours available. So once again, it's not one of those things that we can let's just hammer down 25 recruits and we'll just start offering everybody everything. Just can't do that. So we got to be careful with it. Pick our guys when we can. Don't be afraid to get an athlete, especially if it says scrambler, because those are guys who can fit multiple positions. So you're not even talking about quarterback. You're talking they can leak into the running back realm, or even they can leak into the wide receiver area. Don't be too afraid to go after an athlete just because they are a little bit more flexible. Even though it might say, hey, they're a scrambling quarterback. Yeah, be willing to take a look. You never know what's going to happen, okay? So, take a look for that. Broderick Capers, 3-star center. And really, you hope you can be anywhere on the line. That's just going to be one of the kind of big things for us, especially with the linemen, is building up depth, because these guys are going to have to shift back and forth right now, depending on who gets injured and so forth like that. So still 115 hours available. One thing that we do have to be careful of is the season hasn't officially kicked off yet. So we're adding these guys on here for the first time. I don't want to overdo it. So once it does come time to actually add points to some of these individuals, I don't want us to be caught to where we're not able to, and all of a sudden we start to lose ground and lose space on a recruit just because we couldn't add points because we already ran out of our recruiting points. So we are going to have to be careful of that going forward. Like I said, being a smaller school, it makes it a pain to kind of do. You got to be very, very smart about who we are recruiting. So I did go ahead and add in Mr. Tutt here as a defensive tackle. Matt Tutt national ranked is 1,236, but 77 tackle, 82 finesse moves. I'm not sure where they got his national ranking from. The kid's got a pretty solid talent all around. They don't even have him listed as a gem or a bust. However, I think with some of those scouting stats, he's got definite potential to be a game shaker for us. Now, I do want to look at 4-stars because I'm not crazy. You have to try to step it up a notch in recruiting. Let's take a swing for the fences. So Patrick Teamer is going to be a speed rusher. And his stats aren't exactly what you want ideally coming out as a 4-star prospect. 86 tackle and so forth. It's one of those, you got to be careful about it. You know what I'm saying? So we have advanced. We're getting ready to actually get the season kicked off. So we had to go in and add in our points on a lot of our recruits. And here we're kind of seeing the impact of it. Teamer, we didn't move up his board at all. All right, we added in, we handed him some points, and he just said we can kiss his butt goodbye, because he was going to leave us. So we don't add him on at all. Now here's where I was talking about a problem. Sanborn and a couple of these other guys are ready for visits. Stevens and Sanborn are ready for visits, but we only have 25 hours available, right? And that becomes a problem, because I'm going to have to get rid of recruiting actions, change how we do that, just so I can get points to get some of these guys in here for a visit. And, I mean, maybe a part of me says, I know I should get rid of a couple of the recruits just to free up something. But a part of me also really doesn't want to have to do that, especially if some of these guys we are first in their interest. It's hard for me to want to just leave them out and leave them alone. I do get weary of players that have big name schools coming after them. And when I say that, I mean like your SEC kind of schools, your Big 12, Big 10 schools. Because you'll notice through the weeks, if you don't sign them pretty quick, they start to just build up. They start moving up their board, these other schools, just for the mere fact of they are a different school, So I get enough points to recruit Sanborn and get his visit scheduled. Proximity to home is the deal breaker, so I do add that on. We're going to go ahead and schedule Frederick Stevens as well, a middle linebacker. And if we can get 2 middle linebackers that are 3 stars, my goodness, I think we can do some serious damage on the defensive end with these defensive side with these 2 guys in the front 7. We can manage to pull a gateway off that they can both be there. But we'll have to see how all that stuff shapes out over the next season, which we will be starting in the next episode, as we will get to that here in the next time with the kickoff against Washington. Now, before we do, I just want to remind y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already, and hit that little bell icon so you can be notified of all the Champion Sons uploads that we have here on the channel. Now, I will see y'all in the next episode as we kick off Season 2 on the road against the Huskies. It should be a good season. I can't wait, and I can't wait long enough. I'm too prepared for it. I want it to happen now, but it's got to be the next episode, everybody. So I'll see y'all then. As always, stay safe, and well, y'all know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.